You would be paid nearly 150 million BDT, around $1.3 million per year, just to guard this lighthouse. It sounds like a dream job, and honestly, I really want it. There are countless perks too. No boss to monitor you, complete solitude, the freedom to sleep whenever you want, fish whenever you like, and do whatever your heart desires. Your only responsibility? Just one simple task. Make sure the lighthouse's light stays on. If it ever goes out, you turn it back on. That's it, nothing more. You can spend the whole day relaxing with your feet up, even sleeping if you want. But here's the twist. Despite all these perks, this is considered one of the most dangerous jobs in the world. Why? Because this lighthouse is built right in the middle of the sea. While you're there, you can't communicate with anyone. Isolation will be your constant companion. Even worse, violent storms frequently hit this location. The storms are so intense that sometimes ocean waves crash over the top of the tower. There have even been deaths on the job, and there are more life-threatening dangers waiting here, which you'll find out about shortly. Now you might be wondering, why build a lighthouse in the middle of the sea? What purpose does it serve? And why is it so important to keep the light on at all times? Why can't it ever be turned off? To uncover the full mystery of this lighthouse, we need to go back several years to a time when there were no cars, no other means of transportation, not even air travel. Back then, the only way to cover long distances was by water. Back in those days, there was an exceptional sailor named Campede Marius. He was famous for successfully navigating the sea, even under the harshest conditions. Once, while sailing through a pitch-black area in the middle of the ocean, his ship suddenly struck some rocks hidden beneath the water. Ships at that time were made entirely of wood, so even the slightest impact could cause cracks in the hull, allowing water to flood in and lead to serious damage. After this incident, Captain Marius began searching for a solution, something that could warn sailors in advance about such hidden dangers. But the biggest challenge he faced was the vastness of the Pacific Ocean. The Pacific is so enormous that even if you were to combine all 7 continents, the ocean would still cover a greater area. Thousands of years ago, when sailors navigated this vast sea, they had no knowledge of what lay beneath the surface, no maps, no idea of what was ahead. Back then, there was no technology to help guide them. Sailors relied entirely on the sun, moon, and stars to find their way. And because of this lack of proper navigation tools, they often faced additional dangers, just like what happened to Captain Ellis. One night, Captain Ellis and his crew were crossing the Pacific Ocean when a sudden storm hit. Thick black clouds swallowed the sky, hiding all the stars. In the middle of this intense storm, they lost their way. When morning came, they realized they were completely lost, stranded in the middle of the vast ocean. They had no food, no drinking water. The sailors were suffering terribly from hunger and thirst, even though they were surrounded by endless seawater. Tragically, many of them died. Eventually, after immense struggle, Captain Ellis managed to catch sight of land, and that's how the journey of building lighthouses truly began. Near the Mediterranean coast of Egypt was the ancient city of Alexandria. At that time, the ruler of the region was Ptolemy II Philadelphus. But his kingdom faced a major problem: its location. If you closely observe a map of the area, you'll see that ships had only one narrow route to enter the city. Around that passage were large underwater rocks. As trading ships passed through this route, they frequently collided with those rocks, causing them to sink or suffer massive damage. Because of these constant accidents, fewer merchants dared to bring their ships to Alexandria. which eventually led to a significant economic downturn for the kingdom. Desperate to protect his empire, Ptolemy II turned to the most famous architect of that time, Sostratus of Cnidus. He pleaded for a solution. Together, they came up with a bold idea. They would construct a fortress-like structure in the sea, a tower with a light on top that would guide ships safely, while also warning them of hidden underwater rocks. Sostratus got to work on the project, not knowing that what he was about to create would one day become one of the greatest wonders the world had ever seen: the Lighthouse of Alexandria. Standing at an astonishing 384 feet tall, it was built entirely out of white marble. A constant fire burned at the top of the tower, so workers had to supply oil and wood around the clock. Eventually, this marvel of architecture was recognized as one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, not just for its height, but for its brilliant design. Sostratus had created a system using mirrors and lenses to amplify and direct the light so that it could be seen from great distances, guiding ships long before they reached the coast. When sailors heard of this beacon, they finally felt relief. Their fears of getting lost or crashing into rocks on the way to Alexandria slowly faded. And so, the idea of the lighthouse began spreading across the world. Although originally created just to help ships navigate through tricky waters, as global trade expanded and more ships traveled the seas, lighthouses began to appear in many more locations, especially in dangerous zones where underwater rocks were just below the surface. In the early days, lighthouses always used fire, but this had its drawbacks. It needed a constant supply of fuel. Later, candles and oil lamps were tried, but their light couldn't reach far. Then came a game-changing invention, the electric bulb. Lighthouses switched from fire to electric light. But there was still one problem. The light didn't go far enough. That's when scientists realized the key was in the lens. If the lens was placed in front of the bulb, instead of behind, the beam could be projected farther. However, the lenses of that time were thick, heavy, and not efficient. Then came a breakthrough from a French scientist named Augustin-Jean Fresnel. He invented a special kind of lens, the Fresnel lens. It could capture all the light and focus it into a powerful beam, visible from many miles away. Today, almost every lighthouse in the world uses Fresnel's revolutionary lens. This one innovation transformed the purpose and power of lighthouses, ensuring the safety of ships even in the roughest seas. But now that you've learned the terrifying side of lighthouses, your heartbeat might be racing a little faster. And this is exactly why, even with such high salaries and luxurious perks, no normal person wants to live in these remote lighthouses. Because no one really wants to lose themselves in a world of loneliness and fear.